On today's episode of Axe Hacks, we're going to jump into part 2 of the bridge installation for the RG270. Now really quick, before we dive in here, I feel like I might need to take a minute to clarify my sort of intent behind this project guitar. So by no means is this series of videos for the RG270 intended to be a step-by-step guide on how to upgrade specifically the RG270. It is fully intended to be a kind of helpful video series on how to upgrade a cheap guitar, be it, you know, a lower end Schecter or Squier or Ibanez, whatever you may have. The fact that I decided to go with the Edge 3 on this project was not because I was hoping that it would maybe be a drop-in replacement for the original bridge. I definitely knew there was going to be routing involved. As far as my installation method of just using the handheld Dremel router, along with these videos, I'm keeping in mind, you know, what tools are the people watching them, or the people that these videos are going to appeal to, you know, what tools are they going to have available? They're probably not going to have, you know, a professional plunge router or routing templates or anything like that, or probably even a plunge router base for a Dremel. So, you know, the whole idea behind these is, how can you upgrade a cheap guitar? Why are you going to do these upgrades? In this case, the bridge needed to be upgraded so that it could have a locking system on the bridge end and to add more mass to the bridge itself. And as far as the specific parts that you're going to use to upgrade your guitar, that's more what forums and things like that are for. I'm certainly not an authority on the best parts to upgrade every single guitar with. I do research just like everybody else. So yeah, I knew the Edge 3 was going to be a challenge and kind of shoehorning into the body of the RG270. That was, you know, it's kind of part of the fun of modifying a guitar. Anyway, without any further ado, let's dive in to part 2. Okay, so we've got our bridge in and mounted with a whammy bar, and if you listen really closely, you might be able to hear those springs rubbing. And as I look back here, I can see all it is, again, because this this brass spring claw is riding lower than the original one, and this block is shorter. When we pull this forward, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, and then you can see those springs are just getting pulled down over this lip right here. So I'm going to pull the springs and bridge back out, mark where those springs are, and just shave down a little tiny bit, like maybe 1/8 of an inch, right where those springs ride. The other thing that I noticed, though, is even once we address that, if I want to install this trim stopper, which I do, this stop screw is sitting just above where the block is coming. So this actually needs to have a route cut for it to sit probably close to 1/4 of an inch lower than it currently is. So let's get the bridge out and see exactly what we're working with after we mark where the springs are. So right there is where the trim stopper needs to live. Alright, so first things first, let's route out where those springs need to ride. Okay, so we got 3 recesses cut, and that, they might need to be adjusted a little bit, but I think that's going to be a pretty good start. And then let's go ahead and route out a spot for our trim stopper. Alright, so right now we're contacting about half of the screw. So yeah, we need to come down about another 1/8 of an inch or so. Okay, now you can probably see we have popped into the bridge pickup cavity. So, I mean, that doesn't really affect anything. So this is actually looking really good right now, as far as how deep we got on that pass. Let's see where it's landing on the block. I think we're going to be just about right. It's looking pretty good to me. It's making solid contact with the screw. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that this, what wood is left that's down there is level, and then screw it down. And another thing that's actually kind of cool that I just realized is that, if anything, having cut this route out for this to sit in is going to make it really stable, because normally there are 2 set screws to go through this slot to hold it in place, but because we have this kind of back recess right there, that is just going to anchor against the back of that, and then we'll probably really only need to drive 1 screw down in there. Alright, so just using that middle spring route as an example, it's so close. It's just barely coming into contact with that green area still. So I'm going to pop that spring out, and we'll just further pull those routes back. Okay, well, after much more rear routing than I had anticipated, I think we are finally there. You can see, if I put the whammy bar in, you can see that if I do a dive and bring it all the way down, those springs no longer come in contact with anything. And we have the trim stopper aligned just right so that the springs aren't coming into contact with it either. So let's pull this hardware back out and color those cavities in black just like we did for the top. Okay, trim stopper is in place. The bridge. Look at that. That's a thing of beauty right there. That backside turned out fantastic. So let's go ahead and adjust the trim stopper to where it'll level out this bridge where it is right now, just to get kind of a basic idea. That bridge is level right there. And that could not be more of an ideal setup. That's right in the middle of the travel for the set screw. Awesome. there's our new bridge. All right, and thus concludes the Edge 3 installation into the RG270. I know this video has been a really long time coming. Due to the complexity of the installation, you can probably see why. I might also recognize I'm not in the same space I have been for all my other videos. I did move in between that kind of long gap in time in releasing videos, but anyway, the installation went pretty well, all things considered, I would say. Definitely a lot more routing involved than I had anticipated. You can see my poor new interval shirt here is just covered in sawdust. But I mean, sometimes you have to just kind of dig in and go with it based on what the project requires. So, I mean, everything in the back of this system looks and is going to function awesome. I'm not going to string it up today. I'll probably go ahead and do another video for like the tuning machines and maybe color matching this chrome hardware to match the new Cosmo Black of the bridge. But yeah, like I said, all things considered, it turned out really well. As always, my name is Chris. You've been watching Axe Hacks. If you enjoy stuff like this, you know, removing tons of wood from a guitar, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next time.